All right, today we're going to get right into something that pretty much all of us have dealt with at some point. Those tiny little dark spots on our skin, especially on our nose. But what are they really? You know the drill, right? You lean in close to the mirror and there they are. You find yourself wondering what they are, and honestly, why they decided to move in. Well, today we're getting answers. So first things first, let's bust the biggest myth out there. That little black dot, it is not dirt. I know, that's what we all thought. It's actually a specific type of acne called an open komodo. What happens is a pore gets clogged with a mix of oil and dead skin cells. And when that gunk is exposed to the air, it oxidizes and turns dark. Kind of like how a sliced apple turns brown. And hey, if you've ever felt a little self-conscious about them, just know that you are in very, very good company. We're talking about pretty much everyone. It's estimated that nearly 100% of people will get blackheads sometime in their life. It's a completely universal thing. Now, it's easy to lump blackheads in with pimples, but they're actually quite different. The real key here is inflammation. A blackhead is an open, dark bump, and it's usually not painful. It's just full of oil and skin cells. A pimple, on the other hand, is closed up. It's red, it's inflamed, and it's often filled with pus. Both start from a clogged pore, but they're very different results. So, we know what they are now, but how does a perfectly fine, normal pore decide to become a blackhead? Let's dive into the science of how these things actually form. Okay, so all over your skin, you have these tiny little oil glands right next to your hair follicles, which we all just call pores. And their job is to produce this oily stuff called sebum. Sebum is great. It keeps our skin hydrated. So this is where our whole story begins. And here's how it happens in 4 easy steps. First, your oil glands just get a little overactive and start pumping out too much oil. Second, dead skin cells, which are supposed to flake off, decide to stick around instead. Third, that extra oil and those sticky skin cells get together and form a plug that clogs up the pore. And finally, the top of that plug is exposed to the air, it oxidizes, turns dark, and there you have it. A blackhead is officially born. So what kicks this whole process off? Well, there are a few usual suspects. It could just be that your body is naturally making too much oil. Or maybe your skin isn't shedding those dead cells efficiently. Hormones are a huge trigger, which is why they're so common for teenagers. And sometimes certain bacteria on the skin can get the ball rolling. Okay, that's enough about the problem. Let's switch gears and talk about solutions. It's time to build your very own blackhead treatment toolkit. Now, when you're looking at products on the shelf, knowing the ingredients is everything. Salicylic acid is fantastic because it gets down into the pore and helps dissolve the gunk. Benzoyl peroxide is your go-to for killing bacteria on the surface. Retinoids are awesome because they help break up the clogs you have and prevent new ones from forming. And azelaic acid is a great all-arounder that fights microbes and reduces swelling. But what happens when you've tried all that stuff from the drugstore and it's just not cutting it? Well, that's when you can level up. Professionals have way more powerful tools in their arsenal. This means things like prescription-strength retinoids, which are much stronger. They can also do procedures like microdermabrasion or chemical peels for serious exfoliation. There are even things like laser treatments or oral antibiotics for those really stubborn cases. So you've definitely got options. Okay, now we need to have a very serious talk about something we have all been tempted to do. That irresistible, nagging urge to just squeeze them out. Let's really get into why this is such a bad idea. I mean, come on, it seems so simple, doesn't it? So satisfying. Just one little squeeze and it's gone, right? So what's the big deal? The answer from pretty much every skincare professional out there is a very clear, very loud no. Please resist the urge. Here's exactly why. Okay, 3 big reasons. 1, you could actually end up pushing the clog deeper into your skin, which will only make it worse. 2, your fingers have oil and bacteria on them, and you're basically giving them a direct invitation into that open pore. And 3, and this is the most important one, you can cause serious irritation, inflammation, and even permanent scarring. It's just not worth it. So, the takeaway is simple. Leave extractions to the pros. They have a special sterile tool called a Komodo extractor that's designed to apply just the right pressure to safely remove the whole clog without damaging your skin. All right, let's wrap this up on a really positive, proactive note. We've talked about what blackheads are and how to treat them, but the best strategy of all, prevention. Let's set you up with a daily defense plan. And the great news is this is all beautifully simple. Number 1, wash your face every day with a gentle. Number 2, Moisturize. Yes, you still need to moisturize. It helps keep your skin balanced. Number 3, if you wear makeup, just look for the word non-comedogenic. It's a fancy word that just means it won't clog your pores. And finally, the golden rule. Keep your hands away from your face. And before we go, there's one last really crucial thing. The Cleveland Clinic makes a great point here. Even though they're so common, dealing with blackheads can have a real effect on your mental health and your self-image. And if that's happening, if it's really getting you down, it is so important to talk to a healthcare provider. So we'll leave you with this final question to think about. After all of this, what's one simple healthy habit you can commit to starting today for the future of your skin? Thanks for joining us.
Have you ever looked in the mirror and just wondered, what are these tiny dark dots on my nose? And why? Why won't they go away? Well, you are definitely not alone. So in this explainer, we're going to get right into it, one of the most common skin complaints out there, blackheads. We're going to uncover what they really are, what causes them, and most importantly, the right way to get rid of them for good. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Those tiny, super stubborn dark spots. They usually pop up on your nose or your chin, maybe your back. They seem to show up out of absolutely nowhere and just stick around. But what are they, really? Okay, let's jump right in. It is time to separate fact from fiction and really understand the science behind these incredibly common blemishes. So, first things first, what exactly is a blackhead? Well, technically, it's a mild form of acne. The scientific name is an open comedo, which is just a fancy way of saying it's an open pore on your skin that's gotten all clogged up with a mix of excess oil, you might know it as sebum, and a bunch of dead skin cells. Now, this is probably the biggest myth we have to bust right now, that dark spot is not dirt. I'm going to say it again. It has nothing to do with being dirty. It's actually a chemical reaction. You see, when that little plug of oil and skin cells gets exposed to the air, it oxidizes and turns dark. Think about what happens when you slice an apple and leave it out. It's pretty much the same exact process. And hey, let's clear something else up while we're at it. Blackheads and pimples? Totally not the same thing. Blackheads are open bumps, and they usually don't hurt. Pimples, on the other hand, are closed bumps. They're often inflamed, red, painful, and have that, well, that white or yellow head. And listen, if you're dealing with them, you are in very, very good company. I mean, sure, they're kind of a classic teenage struggle, but get this, up to 20% of adults continue to deal with blackheads. It's an incredibly common thing that almost everyone faces at some point. Okay, so we know what they are, but the big question is, why do our pores get clogged in the first place? Let's dig a little deeper and see how this whole process actually unfolds. So, how does a blackhead even form? Well, it's kind of like a simple chain reaction. Step 1, your glands start producing too much oil, that sebum we talked about. At the same time, for whatever reason, dead skin cells aren't shedding like they're supposed to. This mixture of oil and dead skin creates the sticky plug that clogs up a hair follicle. And then, since the top of that plug is open to the air, it oxidizes and boom, that's when it turns dark and you've got a blackhead. But what triggers this whole process? Well, a few different factors can be at play. It might be your body is just overproducing oil, which is often driven by hormonal changes. Think of those androgen hormones that spike during puberty. It can also be caused by an abnormal buildup of keratin, which is the protein that makes up your skin. And sometimes the presence of certain acne-causing bacteria on the skin can kick things into high gear too. All right, we have to talk about this. You know the moment. You see that blackhead staring back at you in the mirror, and the temptation to just squeeze it is overwhelming. But before you even think about it, we need to cover a really critical warning. I'm just going to be really blunt here, because it's that important. Don't squeeze your blackheads. Seriously. It might feel so satisfying for that 1 second,